Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great to have you on the channel today. Unfortunately, we're talking about catastrophic Hurricane Melissa, now a major hurricane Category 4 on its way to becoming a Category 5 rapidly here. And this system is looking like a donut shaped at this point, unfortunately, with rapid intensification happened overnight. We'll also be looking at all the models from the hurricane models, GFS, European model, to see exactly where this storm will make landfall, especially since it's such a large circulation, all the impacts. Let's get into it. And here we are looking at the infrared satellite view. This is a monster storm. Look at that eye. Unfortunately, this is becoming a donut-shaped system, strengthening, becoming a Category 5. All our prayers and thoughts are with you in Jamaica during this extremely difficult time. Hopefully all your preparation is being rushed at this point and you're getting into your safe spots, because over the next couple days, yeah, you're getting that heavy rain, but look at this. This structure of this storm is huge. And let's just go three-dimensional here. I'm going to show you the cloud tops, how tall they are at this point. And we're getting into some extremely tall cloud tops here. You can see this system really, on a three-dimensional view, is extremely well developed at this point. It went through rapid intensification overnight, and there it is. If you look at it in respect to Jamaica, and all the way up here into parts of southwestern Haiti, that's where we're getting some very flooding rains. I wanted to show you this product here, the simulated infrared satellite view of Melissa, Major Hurricane Melissa, as it bears down on Jamaica on Tuesday morning. You can see still a massive donut shaped as it makes landfall here in Jamaica and then eventually into Cuba. All right, so starting off here with the GFS, Category 4 storm, likely becoming a 5. Let's see. So the track takes it slowly westward here over the next 24 hours, 2 a.m. So we're looking at early tomorrow morning, Monday morning, that this thing will become a Category 5. Models are in pretty good agreement. I'll show you those intensity scale forecast models shortly, just in a couple minutes here. But there it is, GFS just slightly northwest of guidance here, likely making landfall as a strong Category 4 here. Here's 5 a.m. on the 28th, Tuesday morning. This thing will be bringing in some tremendous surge, wind, wave action, along with tremendous freshwater flooding and mudslides as well. You can see the trends have been a little further west here, away from Kingston, more towards Mandeville, Alligator Pond. Maypen would be on the eastern eye wall side here. So this is going to be a massive eye, so the eye wall is going to be huge, unfortunately. And there it is, crossing over right in the middle of Jamaica, 11 a.m. Tuesday morning, and then still a Category 4 on the other side of Jamaica. So this thing remains a buzzsaw right through Jamaica. Please, all our thoughts and prayers are with you here. Please stay safe. If you need to get to a safe spot or rush all preparation to completion, please do so, because this is a horrible storm, unfortunately, and the only saving grace is it does start to accelerate, Tuesday as it's heading over Jamaica. So it will be on its way. Look at the GFS right over Guantanamo Bay here in the eastern tip of Cuba. All persons should be preparing here as well, because this is still going to be a very dangerous storm at 120 mile per hour winds. You can see also the feeder bands actually propagating all the way over to Haiti, Dominican Republic, maybe clipping parts of Puerto Rico as well. If I just back that up just a sec here, and I'll show this on the hurricane models as well. We'll zoom in closer to Jamaica and Haiti. But you can see continued flooding rains on the east side of this system as well. That's going to be a thing. Turks and Caicos, you're going to get hit. Looks like the eastern eye wall right around 2 p.m. on the 29th. So we're getting into the time frame of Wednesday. So Wednesday afternoon, this starts to accelerate, weakening to a Category 2, and Bermuda, it's going to be really close for you. I still think you're going to get some impacts, but it'll be more like a Category 1 storm or transitioning to extratropical. So there you have it. That is going to be what we're looking at. Unfortunately, behind it on November 1st, we get another tropical wave. I know you don't want to hear this. Through Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, heavy rains and gusty winds as that propagates more towards Central America. Bermuda. You can see on the 3rd into the 4th, Honduras. The north coast of Honduras could be seeing some serious flooding rains with this tropical wave up towards the Cayman Islands. So far, it looks like the worst of it misses Jamaica, but you'll still get some heavier rains out of this as we head towards November 6th into the 7th. You can see, look at this, just a train of tropical moisture behind it. I know this is not what you want to hear. That actually gets up here into the Gulf, but look at this system. This is right around November 11th. It's like the tropics don't want to shut down here. This is the last frame. We'll be watching it because it's possible we could have a tropical storm deep into November. We're going to start off here with the HWRF hurricane model. You can see following right down the center of guidance during the next 24 to 36 hours. However, you'll notice the hurricane models also wobble a little bit west of guidance right around 8 p.m. on the 27th. So HWRF going a little faster here and then making landfall right in this corridor, Savannah Lamar area over to on the east side, Belmont. So watch out. This wobble to the west on the hurricane models. Not sure if this is going to become a thing, but then crossing over onto the other side near Montego Bay with tremendous feeder band action on the east side, all the way over to Mandeville and Kingston as well. So watch out. This could be very, very dangerous. And then on its way to Cuba, this at HWRF west of Guantanamo here. So we'll have to watch for that development. But guidance is right near Guantanamo, just to the west, as a Category 3. So this storm is not going to weaken much. It gets all the way up here towards Bermuda in a couple days. I just wanted to show you something here on the east side. Yeah, the feeder bands reaching into the western and especially the southwestern portion of Haiti here, as we see on the 28th at 8 p.m. So getting on into Tuesday evening, those feeder bands will continue. Been having flooding concerns here in Haiti the last couple days as well with that circulation. All right, so we're actually looking at the HMON here, another product I like to look at for the tropical hurricane models. And as you can see, pretty much following guidance, although the HMON does wobble it a bit further west here of guidance by about the 28th. So we're getting into Tuesday morning at 5 a.m., wobbles it further towards, away from actually Kingston area and more towards the west-southwest coastline here as a Category 4. So let's just back this up. There we go. So landfall further west, right in this area between Black River and Mandeville and Alligator Pond. So there you have it. That could be a major, not seeing the other models doing this, but it's possible with eyewall replacement cycles that there could be some wobbling going on. And look at the feeder band moving right into Kingston as this makes landfall. Tremendous surge, wind, wave action, and rainfall. All right, so here's our latest European run here, and then we'll zoom out a bit. But I wanted to show you Melissa. Of course, the European here is not really representing this Category 4 or 5 with the pressures very well, but it is really aligned with track here. You can see right just south of Jamaica here on Monday after early afternoon, and then it makes its turn further north here with response to this trough digging up here into the northern parts of the Bahamas. That area of high pressure continuing to pull eastward, so it's pulling this north as well. You can see making landfall here in Jamaica. It looks like Tuesday morning. And then thankfully it does start to accelerate here. Don't focus too much on the pressures because for some reason the European now, just like the GFS was having trouble with track, now the European, this was a couple days ago, the GFS was crazy with the track, not really keeping up. The Euro has kind of bombed out on pressure, so to speak. So there it is, Guantanamo Bay here right around Wednesday, early Wednesday morning making landfall. And then it looks like these pressures are pretty accurate up here into parts of Cuba and then the Southeastern Bahamas. Here on the eastern side, this is where the eastern feeder bands are going to clip parts of Haiti. You can see here, this is where the east side really gets cranking on that southwestern peninsula here. So yeah, please, if you're in southwestern Haiti especially, continue to prepare for life-threatening floods and mudslides. That moves to the Turks and Caicos, Southeastern Bahamas on Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening, and then that continues to move out here, as you can see, as a tropical wave. Unfortunately, behind it for next weekend, more heavy rain is likely. All right, so zooming out a little bit here, you can see tropical tidbits There's the landfall right in Jamaica here, and then pulling northeastward towards the eastern tip of Cuba on Tuesday. So it seems like Tuesday morning, Jamaica landfall, southeastern Cuba here, and the Bahamas. Wednesday, early Wednesday morning, Cuba, and Wednesday afternoon and evening in the Bahamas. This does swing up towards Bermuda on the European. You can see the east side hitting it, unfortunately. So should be a Category 1 by then, but still. Then you can see behind it here, I wanted to show you this tropical wave action. Just like on the GFS, this strong tropical wave as we get into the first full week of November, unfortunately. And then another big one here southeastward to Trinidad, Tobago. We're going to watch these for some potential development. I know you don't want to hear this, especially if you're in Jamaica. So far, it looks like they're heading just south and west of Jamaica, but this is a big area. Just like I was showing you on the GFS, it's showing up here on the European model as well. So very good agreement. One thing to note, this high pressure protecting the United States and the Northern Gulf. So it seems like all these systems will head westward, west-northwestward towards the Central American area. Now, here we are zooming out a bit on the European model. I wanted to show you the intertropical convergence zone. Yeah, it's slipped pretty far to the south here, but look at, if you draw an arrow here, its trajectory is into the eastern parts of the Caribbean. So unfortunately, until we get that flow pattern where it's actually pushing right into northern South America, we're going to continue to see these tropical waves try to push through the Caribbean. And unfortunately, atmospheric conditions are very favorable for development. And here we go with our tropical model analysis here, thanks to tropicaltidbits.com. Look at this. Yeah, so many of the models bringing this up towards an upper 4 and a Category 5 territory. It's possible this could become 160 to 175 mile per hour winds just prior to landfall in Jamaica. Likely to make landfall as an extremely strong Category 4 storm, right around 155 mile per hour winds. Sea surface temperature analysis, you can see where our hurricane is, Melissa, where it is going to be 3 to 4 degrees above average sea surface temperature anomalies. It's got plenty of warm water to feed off of here, unfortunately. All right, so we're looking at the Western Caribbean here. Yeah, unfortunately, these rainfall totals are still bad, but the storm does become more progressive as it gets caught up in the base of that trough. So that is the saving grace here. Still, we're looking at staggering rainfall totals here. This is with another system, closer to next weekend. Actually, that's the weekend beyond. But there it is. Yeah, towards the 7th. Towards the northern part of Honduras. Now, northern part of Honduras, you get one tropical wave here. Let's take the first thing here. So this is Melissa with that tremendous rainfall total, 600, 700, 800 millimeters in some of these locations from central Jamaica eastward. And here into parts of southwestern Haiti, yeah, getting close to 500, 600 millimeters here. Look at the southern coastline of Dominican Republic. You're also getting upwards of 200 millimeters in some of these locations of additional. Keep in mind, this is all additional rainfall on top of what you already have. So that's some really bad news. Eastern tip of Cuba, from Guantanamo eastward here, this is where you're looking at 300 to 400 millimeters. Turks and Caicos, easily 250 to 300 millimeters. But yeah, it's central eastern Jamaica and southwestern Haiti. This is where you're going to see those rainfall totals easily get to the 500 to 800 millimeter mark. And here we are, the GFS into the Western Caribbean. Very similar situation here with the rainfall totals. You can see we're going to take, look at the northern part of Honduras, even eastern Belize here. We're going to take that secondary. First is the primary, Melissa, Hurricane Melissa. Look at this, 600, lots of 500 to 600, 700 millimeter amounts. Even a little bit further west here on the GFS, as GFS is trying to trend a little westward here. Look at parts of Haiti here. A bullseye of another 250, 300 millimeters, all the way over to Dominican Republic, 150 to 250 millimeters. All the way up to eastern Cuba here, 400, 500 millimeters through parts of, Southeastern Bahamas, Turks Caicos. So please, life-threatening mudslides, it's just going to be horrible. And this is on top of what we already had. Now, Honduras over here and Belize. This comes towards that first full week in November. Look at this. Yeah, this is a tropical wave that could be dropping in excess of 500 millimeters along the extreme northern coastline of Honduras and closer to 350 to 400 millimeters along the eastern part of Belize up the Yucatan Peninsula. All right, so we're getting right back here into the tropics, Eastern Caribbean. It's pretty quiet in the Lesser Antilles, Virgin Islands, until you get to the first week of November here. Look at this. Tropical wave action continues. Virgin Islands, you're right around 20 to 30 millimeters. Look at Puerto Rico and St. Croix. Barely 25 to 30 millimeters, some areas close to 40. So that's getting you towards about a quarter to a half an inch or less. But look at Trinidad, Tobago down here. Yeah, we're getting amounts close to 125, 140 millimeters here. Some of these areas up the island chain, St. Vincent, Barbados, all the way northward to St. Lucia here, you could see a total 60 to 100 millimeters. And here we go for the GFS into the Eastern Caribbean. Yeah, it's pretty much the same story here. A little bit more into Puerto Rico and St. Croix over the next couple weeks where you could easily, on the GFS, yeah, look at this. The GFS is going crazy with these tropical waves. But yeah, eastern parts of Puerto Rico, upwards of 300 millimeters. St. Croix, close to 90 to 110. That's more like in the 3 to maybe 5 inch locally higher category. Look at the Lesser Antilles, though. Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up the island chain here, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Barbados. Some of these areas could be seeing close to 300 millimeters plus. So watch out. This is some stormy times ahead. I wanted to show you this graphic from the National Hurricane Center. Up to 40 inches possible of rainfall here into eastern parts of Jamaica. This is in addition to what you've already had, and isolated 16 plus inch amounts here into southwestern Haiti. And thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our mid-layer dry air analysis. Yeah, it looks like the dry air up until landfall here in Jamaica is going to stay further to the west. So unfortunately, that keeps our system strengthening to a Category 5 before veering and making landfall here into south central parts of Jamaica. Now, don't focus on the point because this is a massive system, so effects are going to be felt hundreds of miles and kilometers out ahead and behind this system as well. But here you start to see the dry air and training on the west side of it and on the south side of it, really cutting off the moisture plume. And then once it gets on the other side of Cuba, it really starts to develop into that extra tropical low as it pulls to the northeast. But I want to caution you, yeah, there's the Gulf. That's been the story of the Gulf all season, dry air. But look at this. We get some moistening here into parts of the central and western Caribbean as we stretch through November 5th, 6th, and into the 7th. We're watching that strong tropical wave head westward towards Central America. And wind shear. There is virtually little to no wind shear over Melissa right now. And you can see just to the north here over Cuba and the Bahamas, that's where you're getting 45 to 50 knot wind shear. Now, when do we start to see the wind shear kick in? Unfortunately, it's not prior to landfall in Jamaica. That's the bad part. Here it is making landfall. It does start to get some wind shear about 30, 40 knots here on the west side, and then 50 knots here towards Tuesday, October 28th. So that is some good news. That might help weaken it a little bit further here towards Cuba, but unfortunately, the damage will be done in Jamaica. And then you can see the wind shear on the north and west side of the system really taking root. Look at behind it, though. There's virtually no wind shear. So when this tropical wave enters the Central Caribbean come Sunday, November 2nd, our fear is that it will try to develop into something or at least continue to produce extremely heavy rain through the North Central Caribbean, which is not good news. You can see there's very little wind shear to almost no wind shear here into the Central and Eastern Caribbean as we stretch through November 8th, 9th, and into the 10th. All right, so looking at our future radar here, you can ultimately see it's the Gulf Coast states today under the gun for heavy rain, severe weather, flooding concern, big threat here, southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, Alabama, and towards the western panhandle of Florida. Up here in the northeast, we'll slowly have some clearing taking place as high pressure really starts to build in. But look at this through 3 p.m. on Monday, the 27th. You can see this coastal low trying to get organized just off the coast. We also have a little trough just off the eastern New England coast up towards Nova Scotia. But yeah, high pressure building into the lakes and the northeast. We'll watch this off the Carolina coast because it looks like we're coming together right here, the initialization of a coastal low. Rest of your Sunday into Sunday evening, yeah, slight risk of severe thunderstorms, southeastern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida. Damaging wind, large hail, isolated tornadoes cannot be ruled out. Into your Monday, that stretches to the east, but it's only generalized thunderstorms. That storm system weekends. And then you can see the Outer Banks here, southern Outer Banks, South Florida, into Tuesday, southeastern parts of Texas. So picking up where our future radar left off, you can see that low pressure taking shape off the southeast coast, the Outer Banks. This is 5 a.m., 8 a.m. So this is more like Monday night into early Tuesday morning. You can see some heavier rain just around the Outer Banks, lighter rains further north here, and that pulls off the coastline. You can see another system diving in to take its place right around here. We are going to have a strong pressure gradient, high pressure building into eastern Canada here, along with this low pressure. And look at this. This is the low that really gets cranking up the coast come the 30th, Thursday the 30th through Friday the 31st. Look at this. This is almost like a squall line on the eastern side. Convection all the way up to New York City, Long Island, Boston. And then on the backside, we get that deformation band setting up here, the deformation zone. And that is where we'll see the heaviest rain focus on the northwest side of the lows once these become more occluded at this point. But you can see all the way up to November 1st, we see some lake effect response behind it here. Our next system diving southward looks more like an Alberta clipper here. I hate to say this, but I'm actually going to switch over to winter mode here. There's a reason I'm doing this, because look at this. We go into November 2nd. This is like an Alberta Clipper style system. If we can wait for this to load, unfortunately our map package has been very slow as of late, but hopefully there we go. So this basically spins up another coastal low, some mountain snow here into northern New England and up through Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. Well, it looks like a solid snow event up there. And then look at this. Yeah, Gulf Coast, you're going to get some tropical moisture. Looks like most of this is staying rain through the 8th into the 9th. But look at this. We do get some icy mix here in the panhandle of both Texas and Oklahoma here. And there you have it. Some snow showers up here into northern New England and northern New York. All right, so picking up where our future radar left off on the European model, you can see that system coming together off the coastline here. You got that initial shot. You got this trough hanging back here. So this is Tuesday morning. You can see plenty of rain here, the Outer Banks into western North Carolina, as well as that another system holds back. And then we get another system trying to move in. This is later Wednesday into Thursday night here for the Outer Banks, early Thursday morning. You can see, unfortunately, it looks like midday Thursday is when the heaviest rain kicks in. You can see a tropical component here on the European model with that conveyor belt moving up through eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, and all the way up here into parts of Pennsylvania, unfortunately. So we're looking at a tropical connection. That pushes off the coastline here later Thursday night into Friday. But look at it here into the northeast. Yeah, this would bring some tropical moisture all the way up into New York City, New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, the Catskills, Poconos, lower Hudson Valleys. This other low holds back here, an interior low pressure. This pulls all the tropical moisture all the way northward here and then into southeastern parts of Canada. Now, this next coastal low, it heads out to sea according to the European model. You can see here in the isobars and the isotherms, you can see, look at that. Yeah, that troughiness just continuing across the east. And that's going to help us, bring some chances of some light snow, wet snow mixed with some of these Alberta Clippers type systems as they progress south and eastward here. This one's a little further north into Canada. And looking at our European model, total precipitation amounts here from the Gulf Coast states through the Tennessee Valley, the southern Appalachians, and eventually look it up the East Coast as we head mid to late week. Look at this. This is a lot of precipitation, a lot of rain. So look at here, the Gulf Coast areas, 2 to 3 inches here into the red, closer to these yellow zones, closer to 4 inches. And then that just propagates up the coast here, widespread 1.5 to 3.5 inches of rain, even parts of southern Ohio here, northeastern Ohio. A lot of this up here is actually lake effect off the lakes. And here we are looking at the GFS rainfall amounts here through the southeast into up the east coast. Look at this. Yeah, GFS going all in on these coastal storms. Look at this. So yeah, Central Plains down to the Gulf Coast, you'll have your severe weather bouts here, 1.5 to 3.5 inches on average, closer to 4 to 5 inches out here in Missouri. Look at up the coastline though. Parts of the Outer Banks, 3 to 6 inches on the southern Outer Banks here, more like 1 to 2 inches on the northern side. Look at parts of New Jersey, eastern New Jersey, 4 to 7 inches of rain with 3 to 5 inches further northward here into southern New England. And before we continue to more weather here, don't forget if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. Please, it really does help, gets the word out in the video exposure. Question or comment down below. I'd love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. Keep in mind, I do tropical weather all year, and I also do winter weather coverage and severe weather coverage as it warrants per season. Let's continue with more weather coverage. And looking at our NAO index here, yeah, we're very negative, but we're going to be heading towards neutral come the mid to latter part of November. That would signify quieter conditions will ensue. And looking at our MJO index here, yeah, we're right in the middle of phase 4. We are going to be on our way to 5, 6, and eventually 7 come later in November, so things will slowly start to become more active here, according to our MJO index. And here's our upper air pattern here. It looks like it's loading. So here we go. We got that extreme ridge in eastern Canada. That means all of these impulses are kind of forced down and around it along the southeast east coastline here. That works out good for our hurricane, deflecting away from the east coast. Still going to see lots of wave and rip current action, beach erosion, so watch out for that. But look at this troughs really get cranking come the first part of November here. Some of these troughs really lifting out, though. But you get one right after another filling its place. And then right around the 10th, we start to get a little bit of a ridging scenario here across eastern North America. So the Western Pacific, this is what we're looking at here. You know, it starts out pretty quiet with except northern parts of Japan into the rain. But look at this. Yeah, it's Vietnam that's getting hit with these tremendous tropical downpours. Taiwan looks pretty dry. Shanghai, you're getting this synoptic system that's going to crop up around Japan as well, right around the 30th. Look at South Korea, though. Dry, clear as a bell until about the 31st. You get a little light front pushing through towards Japan. Now, this is where we start to see some potential for typhoon action. Look at this. We got a couple areas here. We're going to watch these two areas November 2nd. This is the 3rd into the 4th. This actually propagates southwestward towards the central Philippines. We could be looking at a typhoon, maybe a super typhoon. So please stay tuned. We also have another tropical system. Thankfully, this is likely to be projected out to sea here with that trough really protecting Japan. So that will be on its way to the northeast. But look at this typhoon. That actually starts to head towards Hong Kong. I know you had quite a bit of a typhoon season here in South China, but there it is once again. All right, so total liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here. Yeah, Vietnam's going to be the big winner of rainfall here, especially northern Vietnam and eventually the central Philippines as well, maybe even the northern Philippines. Up here in parts of Japan, this is all synoptic rain. None of this is typhoon related. Look at South Korea, dry, really dry, less than 10 millimeters here. But parts of northern Japan, yeah, you are getting upwards of 150 millimeters. But it's here into, look at northern Vietnam here. You're close to 5 to 700 millimeters. Also through central parts of Philippines, we have that potential for a typhoon. This may actually end up being higher than 350 to 400 millimeters. All right, so for Canadian weather, we're going to keep the snow depiction, precipitation amounts here. Look at this, Alberta up to Saskatchewan, heavy snow. So yeah, on the west central prairies here, you're going to be looking at some heavy snow. Also here, Nova Scotia, you're getting clipped with some of this moisture from the coastal lows. Quebec and Ontario, high pressure builds in the 29th and the 30th late week here. But you get the idea. Lots of mountain snow here in British Columbia with these Pacific systems pushing in. Now we do get a strong coastal low here into New England from the United States, from southeastern Ontario, Quebec, all the way to New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. That pulls up across the area with some wet snowflakes on the backside here. So you can see there's a lot more snow showing up on this map now. I've switched over to winter mode. And as you can see, Ontario and Quebec, you're going to get some of that wet snow mixing in a coastal low over by Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and Newfoundland here by November 4th. It looks like a lot of this here in interior parts of Quebec is heavy wet snow. So watch out for some accumulations here. Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario. We'll take a look at those snowfall accumulations. Always interesting to take a look at some of those. But look at northern British Columbia really getting in on the snow here. And coastal lows will reign supreme across southeast Canada through November 11th. All right, so we're looking at rainfall totals here for Canada. Look at that, the west coast and the southeastern part of Canada. If this map would load, I don't know. This map package too has been extremely slow as of late, but I digress. Here we go. If this would actually load. Let's see here. Okay, you get the idea here. We're just going to go all the way to the end. So you can see here 200 to 300 millimeters here along the west coast of Canada, southeast Canada. This is where we're looking at about 60 to maybe 80 millimeters. So some of this is actually going to fall in the form of snow. So let's head down to our winter weather package here. Hopefully things will load properly. So here we go. If we just put this into motion. Okay. It's not going to load. So we're just going to have the last frame here. This is the total snowfall over the next 2 weeks. This takes us right around to November 11th here. So the West Coast, you can see getting into, wow, that's quite a bit of snow here. That's 130 to 150 centimeters here. So yeah, the northern prairies, you're getting into, let's see, about 13 to 25 centimeters here. Parts of Southeast Canada too. Look at this, Ontario and Quebec. There's some areas getting 5 to 15 centimeters. And here we are. We're looking at our high temperatures for your Monday, October 27th. You can see a little band of 60s for parts of Ohio, southwestern Pennsylvania. Get out there and enjoy, because look at here in northern New England, you're stuck in the upper 40s. Into Tuesday, the 28th, you can see a little bit of surge of some warmer air near 60 degrees in these areas. Look at the Gulf Coast, though, pretty toasty, near 80 in many locations. So we stretch through Wednesday. Look at this. You see the surge of 50s down in through parts of the northern Gulf Coast states. It's getting cooler. Fall is really setting in across the area. Into Thursday, the 30th, look at parts of the Appalachians not getting out of the upper 40s here. So you know fall is definitely here. Get out there and enjoy what's left of the fall foliage. It's rapidly turning in many areas. Some areas getting past peak. You can see as we stretch through Friday into Saturday, yeah, a little bit of a warming trend. Mid to upper 60s out here in the plains, but look at here in the lakes in the northeast, hard pressed to get out of the low 50s. Extended outlook for my hometown viewers, bring them to Descranza, Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. As we get right through Monday through Friday here, yeah, it's cold, frosty starts in the morning, 20s for lows, lower 50s for highs. It will be sunny through midweek, but then we start to get that next system moving in, especially later Thursday night, and early Friday, some rain likely. But, lower 50s, can't complain. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button, or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.